You're listening to RadioLawTalk.com. And now back to your host, Frederick Penney.
Well, PG&E, the big fires that they had down in the Napa area and up at Paradise, which is Northern California, up further north, the State Department of Forestry and Fire Protection officially came out with a news release and said basically the fires were started by faulty or lines that had sparked the brush up north.
They said it was sparked by PG&E equipment. Yep. They didn't say it was poorly maintained. They just said it was sparked by their equipment.
Right.
Why is the question.
Yeah, and so here's some interesting. So we're not going to get into details about that because that's coming forth, but obviously there's lawsuits left and right, and they filed a reorganization bankruptcy. And here's the situation. I was in a store on Thursday in Northern California, and an individual I looked over, it was a PG&E truck was out front. It was a little small mom and pop store, and this PG&E guy was talking to the patron, the store owner, and he said to him, and then the store owner goes, "Yeah, we read that looks like that it was PG&E after all that caused that fire up there." And he turned to him and he said, "You know what? It's not the employees, and you know what? We know that, but guess what? Did you know?" What did he say? God, I should have written him down. Something to the effect of, the whole thing is antiquated and antique. In other words, the system is so old and it's so big, they can't bring everything up to grade. It's just almost impossible. But it's old. A lot of system is old.
And yet they have among the, probably in the top 3, highest electrical rates in the country.
Right.
So you have to ask the question, why can't you?
And plus, they're paying their the top CEOs and stuff a lot of money.
Well, the top CEO was just brought over from the Tennessee Valley Authority, and this for a bankrupt utility, including stock options and everything this year. His salary's $10 million.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's not much compared to what a lot of other CEOs get. But for a bankrupt company, he's getting $10 million.
Okay, I'm going to argue. That's an argument I hear a lot, but let me argue back. Here's the issue, and everyone's like, "Oh, rich people, usually getting too much money." They want to get someone quality. That individual is not going to come because he's going to have other options at other big companies unless they pay him that. And if you want him to help right the ship, you've got to pay for the person.
You talk about antiquated power lines. This statistics comes from the PG&E company profile. PG&E has 106,681 circuit miles of electric distribution llines. 106,000. Do you know how many times you circle the globe at 106,000 miles? I mean, that's like what? It's circumference of the Earth is 25,000 miles, something like that. That's like 4 times around the globe. That's how many miles of wire they have.
But that's the distribution network. That is not what they call the last mile, where it goes from pole to home. That is just in that big distribution center with all the big tall towers and all of that. I mean, that's a separate thing.
Wow.
So their stats are 106,000 miles of distribution lines, a little over 18,000 miles of interconnected transmission lines, 42,000 miles of natural gas distribution, and 6,438 miles of transmission pipelines. How do they keep all of that up to date?
And this was the worst fire, the worst ever in our state's history. And what we found out is that it wasn't just one fire. That there was the 2 failures of the lines for PG&E. There actually were 2 fires, and one of the smaller fires was engulfed by the bigger fire.
It was gobbled up by the bigger one.
Exactly.
And listen, I have actually been to ground zero. My company has a radio transmitter up about a half a mile from where this thing broke out, and it is staggering, even in a forested area where this transmitter is, the amount of damage that was caused so quickly. And then to look at the electric infrastructure, oh my gosh, because you see, when we talk about all these miles that are built, this wasn't built at one time. This was, well, let's build this, and then here comes some growth. Okay, let's build on top of that. Then here's more growth. Let's build on top of that. So we've got old and then new and then newer and newer and newer, all building on top of this same network. It's an impossible situation, I think. I don't know how they can.
All I got to say is one thing. It sounds like lawyers are going to make money, right?
Oh, boy.
Yes.
They already are, right?